Right. So you're an anxiously attached man, right? Nothing to be ashamed of, right? And there's a lot of men that are still, who's them out, right? And you keep finding yourself pushing and damaging relationships and emotional intimacy. And you don't know why, right? You're probably thinking you're doing all the right things. You're trying to make things close. You're trying to create connection. You're expressing yourself. You open up emotionally. You're being vulnerable. But here's the thing. It's not working, right? The women you're meeting are emotionally unavailable. They don't want relationships. They're kind of like, oh, not sure type of energy. And you're wondering, like, what are you doing? What are the hidden things you're doing to damage the relationship, right? Damage the emotional intimacy in the stage of dating, because it's really important. So some of the hallmarks that you're anxiously attached, right? You attach to women quickly and intensely. So it's like you maybe even find yourself kind of daydreaming about, post date one, how amazing a relationship will be with this person. You're thinking about, locking them down and going on holiday and those sorts of things. You get ahead of yourself. You find yourself chasing validation and reassurance, right? Chasing validation and reassurance, hallmarks, looking to be validated by the external world, particularly the feminine, particularly women. And another hallmark is this general feeling of, you lose yourself in relationships. You get close to someone, you kind of lose yourself in the relationship. You're kind of just doing everything you can or being whoever you need to be to keep the person. So these are some of the hallmarks, right? So I'm going to talk about these eight hidden things anxiously attached men do that damage emotional intimacy in dating. Because it's really important, right? Because this is a really important stage where you need to be kind of ramping up emotional intimacy correctly, right? So first thing, over-disclosure. Over-disclosure. It's what's interesting is that you're probably hearing this and you're like, oh, but I've been told to be more vulnerable. I've been told to be more open. It's true, but maybe that advice isn't actually for you, right? I see this a lot with anxiously attached men who've seen all the stuff about how men don't show up. They don't open up. They're not vulnerable. They don't share. They don't do all this stuff. And they're like, okay, great, I'm going to do all those things. And you do them because it's easy for you. And you're probably doing it before, right? But there's probably some obvious things that, around leadership, around boundaries that you're probably not doing, right? So you over disclose in the attempt to what I call fast track closeness, right? You're trying to create intensity when really what you're trying to create is intimacy. And actually the intensity burns hot and hard and quick and dies off as well. That's number one. Number two is really about not leading, not taking up leadership in a way that is grounded, that is directional. Often your leadership will be timid, will be reactive, like, oh, what does she want to do? Oh, she's signaling this, so you become kind of like really reactive is the only word I can use. It's like you're just constantly feeling into her, like, oh, what do I need to do? What should I do? What should I not say? I shouldn't say that. Oh, she said this, so that means I shouldn't say that. And you are felt by women as chaotic. And I see this with a lot of anxious men. They are felt as chaotic, right? Number three, blowing through your own boundaries, right? And the woman's boundaries. This is something that a lot of anxious people do. They blow through their own boundaries. They completely ignore their own boundaries and then they blame the other person. This is something I see a lot. So you're in a moment maybe where you've said you're not going to do something to yourself. And then the moment comes and because she's eager to do said thing, you just ignore your boundary and you just follow through. You go straight through with it, right? Because you're like, oh, she wants it, fine. You don't uphold your boundaries. And this is a really important thing because when the man is boundaries, especially if he expresses his boundaries, like, hey, I can't see you next week because I've got a lot on with work. That's not such a boundary. That's kind of like stating a fact. I guess a boundary is more like, I don't know. What's an obvious one that comes up for me? I'm not going to stay out late with you tonight. I need to be home by 11 because I've got to wake up tomorrow at 6 a.m. to go for a cycle. Now, if it gets to 11 and you just keep on spending your time with her and you completely, for instance, cancel your cycling, right? Because, you're with her and you're having a good time. Now, doing that once or twice is fine, right? But when you continually blow through your boundaries for her, what it shows is you don't have self-respect. You don't have self-respect for yourself and you can't say no and you don't know where your lines are, but you disrespect them constantly. And it will mean you'll do the same to her. You know, she might ask you like, oh, I don't want to talk about that thing right now. But because your feeling is you can't hold that feeling of, you know, the tension of not talking about the thing, you would start talking to her about it, right? I see this in a lot of anxious men in their relationships where their partners are like, hey, can we talk about that later? But the anxiety they feel is so strong, they push their partner to talk about it right now. Number 4, pushing for clarity in a relationship prematurely. So this is an attempt to lock it down, get clarity. So for when they feel clarity, they feel regulated, they feel calm. As anxious men, you feel regulated and feel calm when there's clarity, there's certainty, you know how it is, right? Because in uncertainty, you feel dysregulated, you feel a bit nervous, you feel scared, you are in this kind of anxiousness of projecting the worst case scenario. I'm going to lose her. She's going to go with someone else. If I don't get this sort, if I don't lock this down or get clarity, she'll be dating other people. And that means that this is going to go wrong and da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, I feel exhausted saying it, right? So you try and create certainty. You might even go on certain dates that will make it feel like you're in a relationship. You might start introducing them to your friends and family, right? To start to push through the certainty. Or you may be like, you know, where's this going? Where's it not going? And sometimes when I see of men is they do all this work in their heads. They start being like, okay, like, oh, this has happened. This has happened. This must mean that we're at this stage of the relationship. They try and create certainty in that way. And then they respond to the woman as if that's where they're at. And sometimes there's a mismatch, right? They're in their heads. They're like, this is, you know, moving towards a really solid relationship. And then the woman, she's like, oh, we've just started to get to know each other. And you start doing things and responding to her from your place. And it feels like you've moved on some steps, which you probably have, to where she's at without actually checking in. That's something I see with a lot of anxious men because they're afraid to ask the question, or they're afraid to actually step back into reality and go, oh, it's really clear that she's at this place and I'm over here. Let me just slow down in my mind, right? Number 5, I think this is, which is texting excessively, right? To maintain connection. So this is like in between dates or even before you've dated, you're firing messages back and forth, texting back very quickly, right? Struggling to not reply within a day. Like struggling to leave it for a day, you know? Or feeling anxious like, oh, I haven't replied to her in a day. I need to reply. I need to tell her I'm sorry. I've been busy all day. When really, you know, people are busy. Like no one is beholden to your response. You know, we're adults. We do things. Sometimes we're busy for a day and a half, 2 days. And I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, you know, it only takes 2 minutes to send a message. It does. But this person you've just met and you don't know, are they more important than all the other things that you're doing with your life? You know, that's always been my theory. It's like, yeah, do I actually need to tell someone I'm going to reply to them tomorrow? Or do they need to deal with their anxiety about their uncertainty they need to deal with, right? I'll get back to them. So it's like a lot of anxious attachment is dealing with uncertainty in the system, right? In the body. Number 6, and this is a very common one, being overtly or overly available, time-wise, emotionally available, with your time and physically available. This can often look like cancelling plans that you had because the woman you're dating said that, you know, she might be free tomorrow. So you cancel your plans, sitting on your farms, hoping that she says she is free and then you can see her. Or when she invites you to do something tomorrow, the week after, you cancel the plans you had that day with your friends or with whatever, so you can spend it with her. So for her, she starts to feel you as always available. Now, this is a very worrying thing to do because the problem also is that it comes like you're always around. You have nothing else to do, right? So if you're always available, spending time with you isn't necessarily becomes this premium thing because she knows you're always available, right? It's this paradoxical thing. We kind of want people to like have their own lives and have things and tell us, no, I can't see you that night. I'm busy, right? And this is the problem for a lot of men is they don't have anything else to do. So they always say yes because they're always free. And this is why you have to get a life. You have to have stuff happening in your life so that it's like, oh, I'm not actually free that day. I'm doing this thing with some friends, right? But being constantly available to someone in their mind, unconsciously, they're going to downgrade your time to being unimportant because it's not necessarily unimportant, but like if you're always available, then they know they can just text you 2 minutes before they want to see you because you're always available. Number 7, which is about interpreting ambiguity, right, as rejection, or just interpreting rejection where it isn't there, right, and reacting to that and to the partner, the woman you're dating, as if it's rejection. So that could be like, they don't text you back for 2 days. Ambiguity right there. And then you start to be like, oh my God, they've rejected me. How dare they reject me? Blah, blah, blah. And then you send a shitty message, or you send a passive aggressive message, right? And you are being dramatic. In your head, it makes sense because all the meaning you've given those 2 days, it makes sense to you, but you're being overly dramatic, right? And it's all about the meaning you place on uncertainty or a lack of clarity, right? It can be rejection. It can be that they're not interested. I guess it's all forms of rejection, right? But it's how the meaning, how you respond to this uncertainty, this feeling in the body that feels like uncertainty and anxiety. And then number 8, you choose unavailable partners. This is something, you know, they might even seem in the early stage of dating available and open, but through some of your own actions, right, they start to become less available, right? Some of your own actions create this unavailability. I know it's not popular, but it is. It's the case. You choose unavailable partners, and then you try and force intimacy to happen, closeness to happen in dating, because you're like, oh, if I just work hard enough, they're going to want me. I'll get the prize. And it doesn't work like that usually. You know, sometimes it does, but not that often, as you've probably experienced. Your massive amounts of availability, as we talked about, both emotional, physical, and time-wise and so forth, again, makes them less available. We especially people who are like maybe not on the levels of awareness and consciousness, often people like things that feel slightly out of reach, unavailable, beyond them. And I'm not advocating for playing games. I'm advocating for having a life. But one of the things that anxious men do is they constantly choose unavailable women. And then they feel that all women are that way, right? This is an interesting thing, but not for discussion today, but you feel that all women are emotionally unavailable. That isn't true. There are massive amounts of women that are emotionally available, and you're not attracted to them. You have to let that sink in. I have met a lot of very emotionally available women, right? But you're not attracted to those women. You choose the ones who are emotionally unavailable. You find something wrong with the ones that are available. You find them boring, unattractive, not pretty, lack of spark, whatever it is. These are the patterns, right, of how we ruin and damage emotional intimacy in dating. So that's the 8. I'm not going to recap over them because there's only a few. These are the very things, because at the center of all of this anxious attachment, there's a lot of it to do with uncertainty, self-regulation, emotional regulation, being able to be in intense situations and be deeply present. And these are exactly the things I'm going to be working through with the men that join my program Relate. Right? Relate's going to start probably in March, and it's going to be a 6-month process. It's going to be mainly, self-serve video program with sessions every month. Really getting into tuning your nervous system, tuning your mind to be able to see what availability looks like, emotional availability, but also to be able to tune yourself to be with the uncertainty and not to be emotionally reactive to uncertainty, and step back and have presence and awareness, right? So that a lot of the issues you're having in dating don't happen anymore. You can see the feeling, you can see the urge arise, and you choose something different. So if you're interested in this, there's a waitlist down below. Add your name, and probably in the back end of December, January, this is something you can join. It's going to be a program. I'm going to have multiple entries for this program over the years. It's going to be something I've been running long term. But to be a founder, you get a wonderful price, and you get more added connection and availability to get direct coaching from me. So if you're interested, add your name to the waitlist, and I will reach out to you. Ciao, ciao.